Good morning. This is Meteorologist James Lawlove here with Dynamic Weather Agency LLC, and today we're going to still be continuing to talk about some winter weather, especially this storm system that's moving through parts of the upper plains into the Midwest and Great Lakes, along with some lake effect snow, and another system coming on in behind that. Now, I didn't post a video yesterday, and here's a little bit why. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and as many of you know who continually watch this channel, I'm in the military myself, and I was celebrating Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to all the military members and veterans who do end up on my channel and watch our videos. Thank you guys for all you do and all your service. Here's me and my son outside at Shaw Air Force Base with the F-16 Viper demo team. And like many of you guys know, I've said in my videos, I do weather for the military. I do it for both the Air Force and for the Army with what I do at the 28th Operational Weather Squadron. So this is just a little bit of what I do, and this is why I was not able to post a video yesterday. Many of you guys know I do stuff business-wise with dynamic weather, and I also do weather for the military, so I'm not able to post videos on YouTube on a daily basis. So thank you guys, everyone who does like and support our channel for the most part. Now, it is that time of the year, Facebook Meteorologist Starter Pack. This is just a gimmick because you're gonna start seeing this stuff here real soon, all these voodoo forecasts. And I just want to show you this graphic right here. So on the left side, the very left picture, this is from a fake weather page. This is not from some meteorologist who just gets the most outrageous model run posts saying that there's gonna be 30 some inches of snow, while the middle picture is the Weather Prediction Center, and the guy from the right here, Rusty Dawkins, says it best. One forecast is from a group of scientists with master's degrees and doctorates, and the other is from someone who calls himself, this page right here is the anti-aging king on the page called Meteorologist. It used to be called Rum and Coke Lovers. And you can you guess which post has the most likes and shares? Well, if you guessed the one on the left, you'd be right. And this is what's going to happen. So when I post forecasts on here, I give you my zero hype, honest opinion of what's going to happen. I don't do any scare tactics. I'm not going to put everything in all caps or overusing exclamation points or anything like that. So I'm not going to go over the top, and I may not get the most likes, most views on everything that I do, because I want to give you guys the most pertinent weather information that I can. And James Spann says this really good. Uncle Joe's Tot Locker and weather page really wants you to share this voodoo forecast, but please use your common sense and don't put unnecessary fear into the hearts of your Facebook friends. So thank you, James Spann, for that. That's from one of his tweets that I took that quote from. Like I said, this is pretty much just the best way for these people to get clicks, likes, and shares on social media, even if those maps absolutely have nothing to do with the truth, any meteorological reasoning behind it, using deterministic model output valid 120 hours out means nothing. Now, getting into today's video, we're still going to be talking about that winter storm, Northern Plains, Upper Mississippi Valley, Great Lakes region. We'll take a look at some of the high winds we saw yesterday, the snowfall totals we saw this up to this morning, along with the current NWS hazards, our winter storm severity index, and then of course our weather models talking about the forecasted snowfall and below average temperatures. So yesterday, this is what we were seeing across the region. We saw wind advisories along with high wind warnings stretching all the way from southeastern, basically North Dakota through much of South Dakota and into parts of Nebraska. And here was the NWS forecast for maximum wind gusts over that 24-hour period. You can see those really dark goldish yellow colors in South Dakota. If you take a look at the scale on the bottom, that's indicating winds 60 miles an hour plus within that region. You can see some of their forecast with 66 miles per hour being the highest I see in there. But as we take a look at some of the storm reports yesterday, there were some really strong winds across parts of South Dakota yesterday. And you can see here, just here in central South Dakota, there's some 67, 69, 72. There's a 78 in there. And I can tell you there's also an 82 on underneath there. So these winds were blowing yesterday across the region. Even saw a little bit over here in Wyoming, but for the most part, those winds were screaming across South Dakota yesterday. And I'm going to show you here why that was kind of happening. So we had this really tight low pressure system that did develop. On the back end of that, we do have a tight pressure gradient. All those lines moving through the northern plains going through that region. Those are what we call isobars. Those are lines of equal pressure that we have right there. And basically what we're seeing is the change of pressure over a distance. Where we have a strong change in pressure over a short distance, we get really strong winds. We even see that aloft. Now this is taking a look at 850 millibars. So instead of those being pressure contours, these are now iso heights. These are lines of equal heights, and you can see the contour gradient up there is also very strong. And basically what this is doing, if we take a look at one of our forecast soundings, we have very strong winds in phase with a very strong low-level jet at 850 millibars. With that and these steep low-level lapse rates across South Dakota at 8.7 degrees Celsius per kilometer. That's how fast the temperature is changing as you move up into the atmosphere due to a lot of cold air moving on in the low to mid levels of the atmosphere. It creates that steep lapse rate and allows for a lot of vertical mixing. So that cold air and those very strong winds aloft are able to mix down to the surface, creating a lot of those strong wind gusts. And here we are as in for snowfall totals as of 6 a.m. Central Standard Time this morning. You see we have seen quite a bit of snow up here in northern Minnesota, along with a small pocket of heavy snow up in parts of northeastern North Dakota. And we're still seeing some snow conditions occur on over this area right now this morning. As we take a look at our current radar this morning, still see some of that snow and some of the snow showers wrapping around on the backside of that area of low pressure. Still snow continuing across parts of North Dakota into South Dakota and into parts of northeastern Nebraska and northern portions and western portions of Iowa this morning. You can see some showers and precipitation moving across parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, into western Kentucky right now. That's with a short wave moving around the backside of this low. And then the cold front way off along the eastern coast of the United States up into the New England territories. We've seen some showers, even a brief tornado warning up there across the Pennsylvania and into parts of New York up there, a brief tornado warning, and still seeing a lot of moisture with our atmospheric river bringing a lot of rain to parts of the Pacific Northwest, and this isn't going to let up anytime soon due to those La Nina conditions. Now taking a look at our current National Weather Service hazards, we still have some of those winter advisories out and those high wind warnings and wind advisories. There is some winter weather advisories back in Montana for up in the higher elevations of the Northern Rockies. Now, as we take a closer look at our current hazards, you can see we have winter weather advisories still in effect for parts of the upper plains and the upper Mississippi Valley region. Most of those are going to expire from north to south, beginning as early as 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time all the way to about 3 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So be sure to check your local NWS on the timing of those advisories. And those advisories are still going to be for some additional snowfall and some gusty winds we're still seeing on the backside of this low as it continues to push off. So this is going to still create some slippery road conditions along with some patchy blowing snow that could reduce visibility, making commute a little dangerous at times. Now that blizzard warning is still in effect today until noon Central Daylight Time for blizzard conditions with additional snow accumulation of 1 to 3 inches. Locally, the highest amounts will be across the portions of Glacial Lake with winds gusting to about 50 to 55 miles per hour. Like I said, plan on some slippery road conditions, patchy blowing snow, reducing visibility across the area. Now we still have some high wind advisories in effect and that high wind warning for those northwest winds at 20 to about 40 miles per hour with a few gusts within the high wind warning area of 50 to 60 miles per hour, with strongest winds being from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. today. And again, this is going to cause problems with potentially some trees being knocked down, possible power outages, and again, difficult travel conditions for those high profile vehicles. Like I said, we still have that tight gradient right behind the low today, still causing some of those gusty winds. Taking a look at our max wind gust swaths for today, these are the maximum winds for today. Again, strong winds, northern plains all the way down to about the central plains. Also seeing some winds across parts of the Great Lakes region into the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and then again some strong winds today also possible across parts of the Northeast today. As we take a look at the National Weather Service maximum wind forecast for today, again, for parts of South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, western Iowa, and parts of northeastern Nebraska and central Nebraska, winds 40 to 50 miles per hour are possible surrounding that. Gusts are going to be all the way from about 30 to 40 miles per hour as we move up into parts of the Midwest, looking at Indiana, Illinois, into Ohio and Michigan. 30 to even 35 mile an hour wind gusts will be possible today across this region, as we still see some strong winds due to that tight gradient across the area. And then again across parts of the Northeast, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts, with even stronger gusts across the coast of Massachusetts and in Maine. Now, taking a look at our winter storm severity index right here. So what goes into this index is looking at quite a few things. Is one, looking at the snow amount. How much snowfall are we going to see from this system, and how fast is that snow going to be falling? Next thing is going to look at is the snow load. Is this going to be a light fluffy snow, or is this going to be a wet heavy snow? So it's taking a look at the weight and the potential effects on society of that. It's also going to be taking a look at the wind component of blowing and drifting snow. Also is going to be looking at ground blizzard, which is going to again be for those wind conditions, also resulting in and the potential for blizzard conditions or reduced visibility. And then the last thing is flash freeze and ice. So basically looking at the potential for surfaces to become ice covered along with the ice accumulation. So as we take a look at our day 1 through 3 composite, for the most part, we're still seeing moderate to minor impacts with this storm system. So it's not a major winter storm by any means, but still causing some impacts. And what does that mean? Those minor impacts roughly equate to those advisory level criteria, like those winter weather advisories that we have, meaning that there's going to be minor disruptions primarily to those who are not prepared for this storm system. And it's going to be no to minimal recovery time will be needed after the storm system. Those moderate conditions roughly equate to that NWS warning level criteria, where definite impacts to those with little preparation and perhaps a day or two of recovery time. And that's where those heavier snowfall and those blizzard-like conditions are occurring. Now, as we take a look at our satellite, again, you can see that very dynamic system that we have in that barotropic type system, with this system becoming vertically stacked. Again, cold front way off to the east, and you can see all that moisture from the east coast wrapping up and around this low pressure system, creating the potential for that snow with that cold air moving in on the backside. Now, I did take some pictures yesterday of some graphics. This was from the 12Z analysis yesterday. I just want to show you why we were seeing some of that significant snow, especially across parts of the northern Minnesota and parts of northern North Dakota. And this is due to this isentropic ascent. We have this wave-induced ridge by this very mature, very dynamic low pressure system that we're seeing with that moisture wrapping around that low up into the deformation zone, back up into that comma head. And this is our isentropic analysis. So we have this wave-induced ridge with a lot of isentropic ascent and lift. And this is basically showing you that. And here's a schematic of how these low pressure systems work. So take a look at this. So you see that warm conveyor belt? What happens is warm moist air flows from south to north and slowly rises into the atmosphere as it goes northward. As you can see, starting out at 900 millibars, moving on up to 850 millibars, and then moving up and riding up over that warm front and wrapping around the back of that low. And that warm front can extend all the way up to 850 to 700 millibars. And as that stuff wraps up around that low, and those upper level fronts extend ahead of the surface front, and that provides extra synoptic forcing in the mid levels where we can have some of those potential snowfall. So again, isentropic ascent with the southerly flow rising isentropically, and on the backside you have northerly flow with sinking isentropically. So as we take a look at our vertical velocities at 850 millibars, you can see we have a lot of vertical velocities up in that northern plains, northern Mississippi Valley and Great Lakes region. And you can see right here, that's that extra synoptic forcing that was giving the potential for some of that heavier snowfall across northern Minnesota. And before I can continue any farther with today's video, I do encourage you guys to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share this video with your friends and family. I am trying to make this channel grow, and liking and subscribing to this channel does help out with that YouTube algorithm, allowing my videos to get more views for that part, and helping me do my part as a Weather Ready Nation ambassador in promoting a Weather Ready Nation, helping relay the weather information to you guys. And last but not least, head on down to that description section. You can find the links to my social media and dynamic Dynamic Weather Agency down below, along with a link to our website, dynamicweatheragency.com, where you can head on over to our forecast page and see all the latest information, including snowfall totals on our winter weather page on over there. Last but not least, there's also a link for our Patreon page if you love to help support this channel. Allow me to continue to make YouTube videos here for you guys and want to just show me your guys' love and support. Again, there's a link down there for you guys, and I have exclusive content and perks for our Patreon subscribers. Now, taking a look at our weather models, this is what they were thinking yesterday. This is actually the model run from 6 p.m. Central Standard Time yesterday on the 11th to about 6 a.m. tomorrow. So this is the European model solution right here. Nice swath of 1 to basically 3 inches of snow all the way from North Dakota, extreme northeastern South Dakota, all the way through Minnesota, with maybe some higher snowfall amounts in parts of northern Minnesota. As you take a look at the GFS model, for the most part, similar conditions, a little bit lighter in some areas, with a kind of a shadow effect along the western portion of Minnesota. This might be due to what we kind of saw with some dry air moving on into the backside of the low. That could have decreased some of the snowfall totals. It wasn't as widespread as some of the models were indicating. Ended up being more spotty and more showery. As we take a look at the Icon model, similar conditions. Icon indicating maybe a little bit heavier snow across northern Minnesota, but for the most part, all 3 models similar placement and intensity. The NAM model, also similar conditions right here, also hinting on maybe some extra higher snowfall totals across northern Minnesota. And as we take a look at the NWS blend of models forecast, again, also the same thing. Heavier snow across those portions of northeastern North Dakota, still possible. We still have snow falling across that area. As we took a look at our forecast of what's already occurred, still under forecasting across some of these areas, especially across the portion of western Minnesota. It's just been really light over there. I mean, it almost looks like a rain shadow effect over here in western, basically Minnesota, but near the Red River Plateau, I mean, we don't have any big elevation changes. There's no mountains there. So it has to be with some dry air that moved on in with this low. Now, taking a look at our forecast model, definitely was over forecasting within that region of western Minnesota. And actually, some of that heavier snowfall pushed further to the east in Minnesota. As we take a look at what actually happened over the last 24 hours. Again, we still are seeing additional snowfall across some of these areas, and some of these snowfall totals will continue to increase. Now, we're not done seeing snow across this area. There is another system moving on in behind us, and we'll take a look at that here right now. So, right there at the beginning of this loop, you can see that low that we have right now pushing on through, going to move its way through the Great Lakes, into the eastern Great Lakes and up into the northeast. And on the backside of that, we have another short wave and another low that's going to be moving on through parts of the northern plains, upper Mississippi Valley, and then eventually on into the Great Lakes. Here's a little snapshot of that here, showing that again, we have that deep long wave trough moving through the eastern portion of the United States, and that short wave moving on in behind that. And that's going to be our next storm system, and it's going to be another Clipper type storm system that we're going to see. And again, of course, with that, more cold air funneling on in on the backside of that low, that's going to bring cool temperatures for the eastern half of the lower 48. And then on the backside of this, you can see a ridge building on in with some warmer air behind that. And we'll take a look at that here in a little bit later on our temperatures. Now, how much additional snowfall could we see across the area? Well, this is the European model solution with that Clipper system. And European model is showing anywhere from 1 to 6 inches of snow, additional snowfall across the area, depending on where you're located at. And I just want to show you the inconsistencies right now with the models. Take a look at the GFS model solution. European model solution, a little bit more south, a little bit more aggressive on the snowfall totals. The GFS model, a little bit more north and east, and a little bit less aggressive across the snowfall totals, except for across parts of northern Illinois. This model, these are for almost the exact same time frame, but this model is indicating more snow across northern Illinois because this is projecting the system to move a lot quicker on through. Taking a look at the NAM 3 kilometer, this is a high resolution model. Again, we'll see snow wrapping around the backside of that low pressure system. There is some scattered showers from Kentucky down to Arkansas with a short wave wrapping around that barotropic, vertically stacked dynamic low pressure system. Still seeing rain conditions across the Pacific Northwest with our atmospheric river, and then some rain across the Northeast with that front moving on through the region. As we continue in through time, as again, you can see that snow showers continuing to wrap around the backside of that low into the Great Lakes region. But by the time we get into about Saturday morning, take a look here in the northern plains. This is going to be that next system we're going to be taking a look at with that short wave moving on through. By the time we get into about noon, early morning to noon, we'll see some mixed precipitation and some snow showers moving on into the northern plains, upper Mississippi Valley region. As we continue in through time, that system is going to dive its way to the south and east as we get into the evening hours. And by the time we get into the overnight and into tomorrow morning, snow conditions across parts of the Great Lakes region, into parts of the Ohio Valley, some lake effect snow conditions occurring across Lake Michigan and into parts of northern Michigan. We'll also even see some snow conditions begin to develop here up in the Pacific Northwest as we get another trough begin to move on in, and some colder air on over there as we take a look at our long range in the European model here in just a little bit, along with maybe some isolated snow conditions across eastern Montana. But here we are at the end near noon on Sunday. Snow across parts of Michigan, northern Indiana, all the way down into the Ohio Valley before moving its way into parts of the Appalachian Mountains and into the Northeast. So as you can see here, with our next system and as that first wave moves on through, some of that lake effect snow we'll see across the UP, snow across parts of Michigan, lake effect across parts of Lake Erie into New York and PA, along with some lake effect across Lake Ontario into New York, and along with some of that snow in some of the higher elevations, and even into parts of the upper elevations of the northern Appalachian Mountains. Now, taking a closer look at the northern plains, upper Mississippi Valley. Again, another additional 3 to 5 inches possible northeastern North Dakota into western Minnesota, maybe some isolated area seen above 5 inches of snow. Again, heavy snow expected across parts of the UP of Michigan with some areas of 5 to 8 inches, where I do expect to see a few areas of to 8 inches plus, approaching 12 inches of snow, so up to a foot of snow across parts of the UP of Michigan. That's going to be something to take a look at. Now, we're going to see a wide swath of 1 to 3 inches of snow across parts of extreme northern Indiana up through much of Michigan, with a small area of 3 to 5 with some isolated above 5 due to some lake effect snow across this region. Again, lake effect snow across Lake Erie, near Erie and east of there, 3 to 5 inches of snow, maybe some isolated above 5 inches. And there's a small swath of 1 to 3 inches of snow across the higher elevation of the Appalachian Mountains. And here we are taking a look at the great Northeast. Again, some lake effect across Lake Ontario and some upper elevation mountain snow conditions. Now, picking up where the NAM 3 kilometer left off. Now, the European model is doing a little bit bad on the P-type right here, because all of this is below that 540 decameter line. So most of this should be in the form of snow, maybe some mixed precipitation in on over here. But as we take a look at the European model, we do have a continuous showers of precipitation across the Pacific Northwest. But as we continue in through time right here, as we go in, we'll see that storm system transition its way into parts of the upper mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast. Rain conditions still occurring across the Pacific Northwest. That storm's going to ride up on the coast, maybe produce some snow across parts of northwestern Maine. But take a look right here as we get into Monday evening. We're going to see our next system right here. Cold air, that trough, that new short wave is going to be moving on into the backside, bringing some cooler air to the Pacific Northwest, where we'll start to see mountain snow conditions basically develop on Monday into Tuesday, with a new low pressure system developing on the lee side of the northern Rockies, bringing again more snow to parts of the northern plains here. And as that storm system develops, we'll see some showers begin to develop all the way from Ohio all the way back down to Oklahoma along the front. with snow wrapping around the backside of the low into parts of the northern plains again. This system is going to continue off, bringing some showers basically all the way down from the Tennessee Valley all the way down to the southern Mississippi Valley region, the south central portions of the United States. And as this system continues to push off to the east, by the time we get into the night, early morning hours on Friday the 19th, we'll have relatively cool temperatures across parts of the higher elevations of the northern Appalachian Mountains. And this is going to be very important because with this system, right now forecast models are expecting another low develop on the lee side of the Appalachian Mountain region and track up that thermal boundary across the east coast, becoming another nor'easter type storm system on the 19th to the 20th, bringing some snowfall to parts of the northeast and the northern mid-Atlantic. So that's something that we'll have to potentially look out for a nor'easter about a week out from now. You can look at the long-range temperatures. Again, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of cold air moving in on the backside of this low, and then a ridge developing across the western portions of the United States. So cool conditions for the eastern half, and that's gonna be within the short term, along with some ridging developing in the west. Now taking a look at our 2-meter temperature anomalies for the next 3 days. Cool temperatures basically 10 to even close to 20 degrees below average in some locations for the next couple of days, all the way from the northern plains down to the southeast. As we take a look at today, here's our max temperatures today. Max temperatures across from the northern plains to the central plains and into the Ozarks, Missouri Valley. You can see temperatures 10 to almost 20 degrees below average for our highs today. Now, as we take a look at our 1,000 to 500 millibar thickness, this blue line right here is our 540 decameter line, and this is our rain snow line. Everything north of that line, you could expect snow. Everything south of that line, expect rain conditions. And as we take a look at some of the height contours in here, we're starting to get some really cold height contours in here, approaching almost Arctic conditions. Still more of just a really extreme cold air mass. Now, it depends on who you ask and what publication you look at for what is defined as Arctic air. Now, as DoD wise, this would be considered Arctic air, but if you go NWS and some more scholarly papers, this would just be considered a really cold air mass, as we're not approaching basically 510 decameters. Now, DoD is about 528 decameters, so a little bit of a difference between a kind of civilian and the military. Again, taking a look at the short range, this is the GFS model for the eastern half of the United States. Below average temperatures are expected, except for across parts of the extreme portions of the northeast. Again, you can see some of that ridging with that wave-induced ridge still creating some warmer conditions that were expected on over there. And then ridging developing in the western half of the United States, as indicated by the above average temperatures for the western half of the United States, especially across the southwest for the most part. And those temperatures are going to change relatively quickly. We'll start to see near average to above average temperatures, especially above average across the southwest, near average to slightly above average for the Tennessee Valley into the eastern Great Lakes and the northeast, near average temperatures for the northern plains, into the northern Mississippi and the northern Great Lakes, with some below average temperatures that begin protruding into the Pacific Northwest. I just want to show you this again. So again, like I said, we have that deep trough moving on through today. We'll have that short wave move out of the northern plains, out of Alberta into the northern plains, and then eventually into the Great Lakes region, ridging developing across the western portions of the United States. Take a look at that. Some troughing, some cooler air moving on into the Pacific Northwest. And that's going to create those cooler than average temperatures across the Pacific Northwest, along with some of those wetter conditions. Now, taking a look at our sea surface temperatures right here. Now, this is showing sea surface anomalies. As we take a look across the parts of the western portion of South America, we have a lot of upwelling of really cold water. Strong trade winds are affecting that water westward across the basically what is going to be the eastern Pacific into the central and portions of the western Pacific. And this is what we call a La Nina. As we take a look at our ENSO index, we've been in a La Nina for quite some time. And as we move through October, we've been getting into a more moderately La Nina, seen a little bit of an increase of those ocean waters, but starting to see a little bit of a decrease again. And I do expect this to be the maximum by the time we get into late December, early January. As we take a look at the forecast for the Enzo conditions in the Pacific. We're expected to keep that La Nina conditions for the time being all the way through pretty much the month of October, November, through December, January, and February, where we probably won't be moving on out of those conditions until sometime basically in the spring to early summer. So the late spring, early summer, we'll start moving back into those more neutral conditions and potentially a El Nino. Now, taking a look at the schematic right here, this shows us the typical pattern for a La Nina. We typically see those wetter conditions across the Pacific Northwest, dry and warm conditions across the southern half of the United States, cooler air funneling into the basically the northern plains, northern Great Lakes, northern Mississippi Valley, and wet conditions across the Great Lakes region. As we take a look, the CPC November precipitation outlook looks very La Nina-like. Wet conditions, Pacific Northwest, dry across the southern half, wetter conditions across the Great Lakes. As we take a look at their temperature, again, warm conditions across parts of the southern half of the United States. Maybe this is overdoing it just a little bit across the Great Lakes region, but maybe some near normal temperatures across the northern plains. As we take a look at some of the ensemble forecasts by the NMME, this is for December, January, February, above average temperatures. This is for basically the southern half of the United States, even the eastern half, based off of this, and wet and cooler conditions for the Pacific Northwest. Now that doesn't look 100% La Nina like, but it's still kind of a La Nina pattern, especially once we move over to our precipitation forecast for December, January, and February. Take a look at this right here. Wet conditions, Pacific Northwest, wet conditions across parts of the Great Lakes, dry across the southern half of the United States. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Again, I appreciate it. You guys hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already down below, and be sure to check out our video tomorrow. Again, I'm meteorologist James Long signing off for today. You guys have a great and wonderful day.